So an interesting part about this room is that it was separated by another volume, only with a curtain. So when modeling this space, I found it especially useful to model the coupled volume effect that you might experience as a listener, especially one located, in this case, on the sort of left corner of the podium, closest to that space. So, to what effect did any slapback echo or that coupled volume have on the listening environment? So, really, it was interesting to hear that in this model. But I have modeled in here a few elements. We have sources that represent the loudspeakers, 1 and 5 for left and right. There's a center room omnidirectional loudspeaker for understanding the room response itself. And then these talkers 2 and 3, just to get a sense of what chatter in the other room might sound like. So this was something that the client was curious about when we were selecting the degree of acoustic treatment possible with this open door situation, which ultimately ended up being a fabric curtain that remained open the entire time. So it was really useful for us to model this in advance. And then a few receiver points in that room, and then also on the podium and in the DJ position in the front. So a couple things we can actually, I think if I shared this correctly, we can listen for a hot second. So if we view from the podium seating, we have our USM modular furniture, a table in the middle. We're seated on the podium. You have direct line of sight of some of the talkers in the other room, which I currently have muted. But I usually listen to a few select tracks, which I upload in left and right. So I have a left speaker track and a right speaker track of a separated stereo audio file, which in this case is Blue Nile. We bounce around. When all the rainy pavements lead to you. I just love how like you get some of the drama of the low frequency on this. Maybe a little too much, a little clipping there. I know it's But then if we go in the other room, we get to hear this entirely untreated room's interaction with the somewhat treated or heavily treated listening room. And then the reverb tail. This is pretty close to how that room sounded. So when we did end up going out to commission the space, there was definitely that low frequency warmth, which is just by virtue of there being no low frequency treatment in this room due to limited budget. But there was definitely, and we can actually observe that too if we were to maybe exit the Auralizer and go and look at the surface receivers that I have set up in this. So if we look specifically in that low frequency range for, let's do center time. There's definitely these moments where that sound lingers, even in the listening, primary listening place on the podium, but it does keep itself in the corners, which is something we planned for with the location of the podium itself. So it was very helpful to identify those and then have that be a way that we define the extents of where people will be seated, which is something that even outside of a listening room capacity is really useful when discussing with clients, just visualizing the actual physical location of where sound will build up and where it may be uncomfortable or uneven or what have you. So at 63 hertz, if we look at strength, yeah, a lot of corner activity. Not the worst distribution of energy on the podium itself. And let's see, we're looking at just the left speaker. So we can look at the center omni-channel which I may have set up as a subwoofer, I think. But that becomes a bit more excited when looking at just the sub itself in the center of the room. But now looking at higher frequencies too, let's maybe not look at the sub for that. And then comparing how with this wall having the opening versus the right speaker, just how that ratio of direct and late reflections create and paint this listening position. So super useful. I'm super excited to see how the loudspeaker uploads and capabilities begin to evolve. I'm also super excited to get some of my more fringy bespoke loudspeaker designer friends to create CLF files. Some of them have GLL files, so I'm excited to see them find ways to convert that, which I think you can do in some programs. But this was especially helpful. We were really excited with just how things came out.